Good day, everyone. Today, we gather to shed light on a critical environmental issue that affects all of us: agricultural runoff. This topic is not just about the fields and farms, it's about the water we drink, the ecosystems we depend on, and the sustainable future we strive for. As we navigate through this presentation, let's take a look at the outline of our discussion. Today, we'll be addressing how pesticides and fertilizers from agriculture can contaminate water sources. We'll discuss the far-reaching impacts on aquatic ecosystems and drinking water quality. And most importantly, we won't leave you without solutions. We'll explore sustainable farming practices that can help mitigate the issues related to agricultural runoff. So let's not waste any time and dive into the heart of the matter. Now let's get to the core of the matter. What exactly is agricultural runoff? Agricultural runoff is the movement of water over the land surface that carries pollutants, such as pesticides, fertilizers, and sediment, into nearby water bodies. It is a major source of water pollution in both rural and urban areas and can have a significant negative impact on the environment and human health. In the Philippines, it is a significant environmental issue that has detrimental effects on water quality, ecosystems, and human health. Various agricultural practices contribute to runoff, including the excessive use of fertilizers and pesticides, inadequate irrigation management, and improper livestock waste disposal. Additionally, beyond environmental issues, ang agricultural runoff ay may significant o mahalagang economic consequences. Yung polluted water, jeopardize nito yung both aquatic life and livelihoods ng communities na talagang nagre-rely sa fishing and agriculture. Nagre-result ito sa pag-reduce ng fishery yields, nagko-compromise ng crop quality, and tinataasan nito yung healthcare costs due to waterborne diseases. Ang pag-mitigate ng agricultural runoff ay very crucial not just for the environmental preservation but also for protecting the economic well-being of local communities.
And now, here are some examples of agricultural runoff happening in the Philippines. First is intensive rice farming. Rice cultivation is a major contributor to agricultural runoff in the Philippines. The excessive use of fertilizers and pesticides in rice paddies can lead to contamination of nearby water bodies with nutrients, chemicals, and heavy metals. Rice is a staple food in the Philippines, and the country is one of the world's top rice producers. However, the intensive cultivation of rice has led to widespread use of fertilizers and pesticides. These chemicals can run off from rice paddies into nearby rivers and lakes, making the water unsafe for drinking, swimming, and fishing. Excessive nutrients in the water can lead to eutrophication, which is a process that promotes the growth of algae and other aquatic plants. These can deplete oxygen levels in the water, harming fish and other aquatic life. Second is livestock production. Animal waste from livestock farms can contaminate water sources when it enters waterways through runoff. This waste contains high levels of nutrients, pathogens, and pharmaceuticals, which can lead to eutrophication, algal blooms, and waterborne diseases. When rain falls or when animals graze near water, their waste, which contains high levels of nutrients, pathogens, and pharmaceuticals, can wash into rivers, lakes, and streams. Nutrients in livestock waste can lead to eutrophication, while pathogens can cause waterborne diseases. Pharmaceuticals, such as antibiotics used to treat livestock infections, can also contaminate water sources and harm aquatic organisms. Last is aquaculture. Aquaculture, the farming of aquatic organisms such as fish and shrimp, can also contribute to agricultural runoff. The use of antibiotics and other chemicals in aquaculture can contaminate water sources and harm marine ecosystems. Farmers often use antibiotics and other chemicals to keep their fish and shrimp healthy. These chemicals can run off the farms and into nearby water. This can harm marine life and make the water unsafe for drinking and swimming.
So next is how are pesticides and fertilizers from agriculture contaminate water. So pesticides and fertilizers are applied to agricultural fields to control pests and improve crop yields, respectively. However, these chemicals can also be carried away by runoff water and into nearby water bodies. So pesticides are chemical compounds that are used to kill pests, including insects, rodents, fungi, and weeds. In agriculture, this includes herbicides, insecticides, and fungicides, and rodenticides. Some pesticides are biodegradable, which can be broken down by living organisms into harmless compounds, while persistent pesticides may take a long time to degrade and can accumulate in the environment, but they may also pose risks for human health and the environment. Since some pesticides may cause cancer, neurological disorders, reproductive problems, or allergic reactions, some pesticides may also affect non-target organisms such as beneficial insects, wildlife, and plants. Therefore, the use of pesticides is regulated by various laws and agencies to ensure their safety and effectiveness. So, pesticides can contaminate water through a variety of pathways, including surface runoff. Pesticides can be carried away by surface runoff when it rains or when irrigation water is applied. So this means when pesticides are applied on land areas that are used to grow crops, they can be flushed away by wind and rainfall into water bodies. So as a result, they alter the state of such water bodies by changing their physical, chemical, or biological conditions, thereby making them toxic, contaminated, and unsuitable for use. Next is spray drift. Pesticides can also drift in the air during application and contaminate water bodies downwind. So this can occur when pesticides are sprayed into the air and carried by the wind to other areas, where they may fall in rain or snow to contaminate lakes and streams. Since they are being carried to the wind, they can also affect the air quality and expose people and wildlife to pesticide residues. And next is infiltration, or also known as leaching. Pesticides can also infiltrate into the soil and eventually reach groundwater. So, when pesticides seep through the soil and reach the groundwater, which is the water that fills the spaces between soil particles and rocks, this could contaminate the groundwater, which is the source of drinking water for many people, especially in rural areas. So the contamination of this can affect the quality and safety of drinking water and pose health risks for humans and animals. And lastly is spills and disposal, which should be obvious since once these are accidentally spilled, leaked, or improperly disposed of, this could cause direct contamination of water resources or sources and endanger the aquatic life and the people who use the water.
Fertilizers are additional substances supplied to the crops to increase their productivity. These are used by the farmers daily to increase the crop yield. These fertilizers contain essential nutrients required by the plants, including nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. Fertilizers can contaminate water through similar pathways. However, fertilizers are more likely to infiltrate into the soil and contaminate groundwater than pesticides. These are some of the ways in which fertilizers can contaminate water. First one is runoff from agricultural fields. When it rains or snows, fertilizer can be washed off of fields and into nearby waterways. The second one is leaching into groundwater. Fertilizers can also leach into groundwater, where they can contaminate drinking water supplies. The last one is improper storage and handling. Fertilizers, spills, and leaks can also contaminate water.
The impact on aquatic ecosystems and drinking water quality. Agricultural runoff can have a significant impact on aquatic ecosystems and drinking water quality. When untreated agricultural runoff enters drinking water sources, it can compromise water quality, introducing contaminants that may pose health risks to humans, emphasizing the interconnectedness of agricultural practices with both environmental and public health concerns. Aquatic ecosystems. Pesticides and fertilizers can be toxic to aquatic life. They can also cause algal blooms, which can deplete oxygen levels in the water and kill fish and other aquatic organisms. Next, drinking water quality. Pesticides and fertilizers can also contaminate drinking water supplies. Pesticides can be harmful to human health even at low levels. Fertilizers can also contribute to high levels of nitrates in drinking water, which can cause health problems in infants. The impact of agricultural runoff on aquatic ecosystems and drinking water quality underscores the importance of sustainable agricultural practices, effective land management, and water quality monitoring to mitigate this risk and protect both ecosystems and human health.
Sustainable farming practices to reduce agricultural runoff. There are a number of sustainable farming practices that can be used to reduce agricultural runoff, including Integrated Pest Management or IPM. IPM is a holistic approach to pest control that uses a variety of methods, including biological controls, cultural practices, and pesticides to manage pests in a way that minimizes environmental impacts. It focuses on prevention, monitoring, and control to reduce reliance on chemical interventions. For example, here in the Philippines, biological controls can be observed via introducing natural predators, parasites, or pathogens to control pest populations. For instance, releasing beneficial insects like ladybugs to combat aphids on crops. Another example regarding cultural practices here in the country is implementing farming techniques that reduce pest susceptibility, such as proper spacing between plants, using resistant crop varieties, and maintaining proper hygiene in and around the fields to eliminate pest breeding grounds. These approaches collectively contribute to a more sustainable and effective pest management strategy. Now moving on to the next sustainable farming practice, the Nutrient Management Planning or NMP. NMP is a process that helps farmers and ranchers identify and implement practices to minimize nutrient runoff. NMP involves careful and efficient use of fertilizers to enhance crop growth while minimizing environmental impact. It aims to provide crops with the right amount of nutrients they need for optimal development, considering factors like soil conditions, crop type, and environmental concerns. In the Philippines, two examples of nutrient management practices are soil testing. Farmers collect soil samples from their fields, which are then analyzed to determine nutrient levels based on the results. Farmers can apply fertilizers more precisely, ensuring that crops receive the appropriate amount of essential nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The other one is organic fertilizer use, emphasizing the use of organic sources of nutrients, such as compost or manure, to supplement soil fertility. This approach promotes sustainability and reduces dependence on synthetic fertilizers, in contributing to healthier soils and minimizing the risk of nutrient runoff into water sources. By adopting these nutrient management practices, farmers in the Philippines can optimize crop production while minimizing the environmental impact associated with excessive fertilizer use. Next on our list is sustainable practices is the cover cropping. Cover crops are planted to protect the soil from erosion and to help absorb nutrients from the fertilizers and manure. Cover cropping is a farming practice where specific plants, known as cover crops, are grown to cover and protect the soil. These crops offer various benefits, including soil improvement, weed suppression, and erosion control. In the Philippines, two examples of cover crops that we use are legumes or munggo. Leguminous cover crops, like munggo, help fix nitrogen in the soil through a symbiotic relationship with nitrogen-fixing bacteria. This improves soil fertility, benefiting subsequent crops. Grasses, such as pakchong grass. Grass cover crops, such as pakchong grass, here in our country, provide ground cover that helps prevent soil erosion. They also contribute organic matter to the soil as they decompose, enhancing the soil structure. By incorporating cover crops into agricultural practices, farmers in the Philippines can promote sustainable farming, conserve soil health, and overall improve crop yields. Last in our list in the sustainable practices is the conservation tillage. Conservation tillage practices, such as reduced tillage and no-till farming, helps to reduce soil erosion and nutrient runoff. Conservation tillage is a farming technique that minimizes soil disturbance during planting and cultivation, aiming to protect the soil structure and reduce erosion instead of traditional methods that involve plowing and turning the soil. Conservation tillage leaves the soil mostly undisturbed. Here in the Philippines, two examples of conservation tillage are no-till farming. Farmers avoid plowing the fields before planting and instead directly sow the seeds into the untilled soil. This helps retain moisture, reduces soil erosion, and preserves soil structure. Another one is the minimum tillage. Farmers disturb the soil minimally, typically only in the row where the seeds are planted. This method aims to maintain the benefits of tillage while reducing overall soil disruption, promoting water conservation, and preventing soil erosion. These practices contribute to sustainable agriculture by preserving soil health and structure, enhancing water retention, and reducing the environmental impact of farming. In summary, it is crucial to understand these practices since adopting these sustainable farming methods, farmers and ranchers can reduce agricultural runoff and protect water quality, not only in the Philippines but the global agriculture in general.
Thank you for listening and have a great day ahead.